Hello, hello, hello. Let's get this thing started. What's going on, guys? I am Follygon, or Ben. Can call me either. I don't really care. Hope you guys are doing well. I lost my pen. There it is. We're going to be working some more on our little froggy wizard here. And, I don't know. I was just kind of playing with the face a little bit here off of stream. Just trying to get some of the proportions a little bit more correct. But yeah, I'd like to do these boots, I think, next. In our last stream, we were kind of working on the hat, getting some of those just larger shape transitions in there. Nothing too crazy, and then we made some of these extra parts. Worked on the scarf a little bit, some of the other cloth pieces. So I think we're just going to continue that route. Do some more cloth here. So I'm feeling the boots first, and then I'd maybe like to take a look at this little collar thing he's got going on more. And kind of go from there. I don't know. We'll see what we can do. If there's anything specific you guys want to see as well, drop it in the chat. And if you guys have any questions while I'm working, you can always drop that in the chat as well. Down in the description, if you're interested, there's my Patreon. I'm now doing critiques for written critiques and video critiques for people. So it's a new thing that I'm doing. I'm really excited about it. I've been wanting to do it for a while. So if that's something that you're interested in, some like personal one-on-one mentorship, check that out. And then there's my new course that's in there as well, if that's something that interests you. But other than that, let's get started. I kind of want to fix this so it's not poking through here like that. I just noticed that. So let's fix that real quick, and then while people are popping in here, we'll move on to our booties. Get our booties done. Our foot booties, not the frog booty. He might have a booty under that cloak, but we can't see it. I don't even have a body for him right now, actually. I'm going to use move with back face masking so that I don't move the opposite side of this. And I'm just very slightly moving this to kind of hide this geometry. Excuse me. Now I could just kind of delete these polys on this pink strap here that are kind of poking through, but it's not a big deal. I think just kind of inching that ever so slightly is going to give us the exact same effect. Plus, I'd rather keep this solid so that I have all those nice clean subdivs in there and everything else. Speaking of that, I actually haven't subdivided this once. I just had dynamic smooth there, and you can see how I have those edges beveled nice and tight. So when I subdivide this, it's going to kind of retain that edge a little bit like we got in our reference. So I'm just going to subdivide that a few times here just to get rid of the tessellation that you can see there. See the individual polys. We don't want that. And I'll sculpt some form on that. We can see some strokes that we can put in here later. We'll mess with that later for show. But yeah, let's work on our boots and try to figure these out a little bit more. I can show you guys what we have so far. Really simple. These are not actually subdivided as well. These are just dynamically smoothed in ZBrush. What I plan on doing here is combining this geometry. These are two separate pieces right here, so we can, let's do this. So this is one piece here, and whoops, 1 and 2. And I don't have my sim on. There we go. So those two pieces, I just kind of have them combined there, kind of blending into each other so that I know for later that I can merge those. So we got a little bit of a taper going there that I want to try to capture. I want to try to capture as much of this form as possible before I actually combine the geometry. It's going to make it just a little bit easier to control while it's in this stage. So let's try to focus on that first, and then we can look at getting some of these secondary forms in there, splitting that, giving this little kind of trimmed edge up top, which I might be able to do with ZModeler with a primitive bevel and extrude. I'll show you guys that. And a little bit of a cut in there so it's kind of split and it has a reason to be tied together. And maybe work on the overall shape of the bottom of the boot as well. Play with that. So let's do it. Crunch on some ice. I know that's not good for your teeth, but I don't know. I like ice. let's see here. Using my mask lasso. Actually no. Let's mask off this whole part. Turn off perspective a little bit. Think about how we want to do this. Might delete that edge loop there. Let's start by just using our transpose tool, kind of widening out this top edge a little bit. So I have a little bit of a curve there that you can see. I want to try to give it a little bit, whoa, a little bit more curve here on the back. I'm actually just going to use my transpose tool. Pull that out a little bit. Give it a little bit more volume back there. It's really hard when you're working off of a single concept image like this. But just some kind of interpretation of what you can see as best as you can. Since we only have one view, it can be really tough. So I'm just trying to figure out some of these major forms before I combine these, because I'm going to combine them with Dynamesh, and then I'm not going to have the low poly shape to mess with anymore. I won't have a nice clean flat here either. We'll have to get that back in. I'm going to try to get a little bit of some pinching. Kind of what I'm seeing here. It's giving it a little bit of an arch, kind of. Just the way the form is changing along here. Let's try to mess with that a little bit. Let's subdivide these a few times. Come up here. Let's just try to get the form to change the direction that we want it to. And then we'll look at adding some additional volume in certain areas. I'm just using my clay tubes brush right now. And from here, I'll knock all that down. Start a little excessive. I like to start stronger and knock it down from there. It's easier to kind of overdo it and then bring it back down a little bit, in my opinion. And the toes are kind of, it tapers pretty quick. We're looking at this from this side view here. And the ball right there, that big toe area, that's gonna be protruding forward more so than this piece. Let's try to capture that. KSA John, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. We are working on some booties. At least trying to. Just very carefully kind of going through here and adjusting this form on the lower portion of the boot. Using my masking tool so I'm not sculpting on the bottom there. And kind of playing with this shape, trying to get this to look a little bit more close to our reference. And it'll be a little bit better once we combine this with the top piece. I just don't want to do that quite yet. Tweak this a little bit more here. I don't care if it's too dirty, if it has some strokes on it or anything like that. That's not too hard to clean up. A little bit of masking here. I just want to try getting a little bit of a pinch. I kind of more so want that on the outside though, so if we can, we'll just do it over here a little bit. Kind of look at how those are shaping up. Depending on the size of your brush. So I have to be careful here. I'm moving from the bottom view. I I don't want perspective on this, so I'm kind of looking at that perfectly flat on. And then when I move this, there's absolutely no way that I can move that off of that axis so it stays perfectly flat the way it is right now. I just want to be aware of that. And I'm just kind of turning on and off perspective as on a need-to basis. I don't work in one or the other. Kind of interchange when I feel like I need to. All right, we're getting close to a point where I would like to combine these. Just a few more changes though, and I think we'll be ready to go. Just kind of trying to get this to taper in and not be so rounded towards the top. All right, let's Dynamesh these and start playing with this form a little bit more. I am going to polygroup. Whoops. Polygroup just this top piece. Leave the bottom as another polygroup, and then leave the sole here as its own polygroup as well. And I'm doing that so that when I Dynamesh this, I'm going to turn off my color data. When you Dynamesh, you can only remember polygroup data if you have poly paint turned off. So let me Dynamesh this real quick. And then I can use those polygroups to make more changes and have more control. Have you tried the new Substance Painter? I have not. I've not tried the new Substance Painter. I don't use Substance Painter very often. I am the ZBrush boy. My middle name could be ZBrush, but it's not. Alright, let's how do I want to do this? So I'm looking at this transitional shape here. Obviously, our shape is a little bit off here. It's not a problem though. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of clean this up a little bit. Whoops, using our trim brush, and we'll keep that edge back there. More so up here, I think. Kind of fill this transition in, and then we'll kind of redraw that in and pinch it out. So we'll just start with the dam standard, since you guys have that brush as well. Turn off perspective and kind of come through here. Lazy mouse it up, get a nice enough curve. Actually, let's delete one of our boots so we can get in here in the middle. Play with that. So this is where we want our transitional line to take place. So separating that bottom portion of the boot and the top portion. So we can see that there are some proportional changes we want to make. Right through here, not an issue though. So let's take this guy down here and polygroup everything else. Whoops, polygroup the wrong side. There we go. So what I would actually like to do, I think I'm just to make this easier, using the slice curve brush, straight across, chop, looks good, split hidden, Dynamesh on that guy as well. And now we can kind of come through here and make some changes really quick. So this shape, it's not a perfectly straight line, it's got a little bit of some curve to it, from what I can see there. I'm going to try to represent that a little bit better. I'm just going to smooth this and knock it down. just kind of trying to rotate around and look at this from as many angles as I possibly can. Grow that a little bit. Now originally when I was working on one of these boots, I had local symmetry turned on, and that's another good way to work if you want to kind of keep that a little bit more symmetrical. I think it's fine that we add some asymmetry now though, so I'm not worried about it. Ooh, just smacked my elbow. Nacho! How are you holding the tablet so stable on the table at that angle using that screen arm? Looks great. Tried something similar, but was wobbly. This is I think they're called Ergotron arms. I don't know. Give me a second here. I'll change the camera here. There she is. So it's not on the table, actually. It's just kind of floating, but yeah, it's connected back there. It's not bolted on. They're like these, I don't know what they're exactly called. They're like just the screw-on clamps that clamp to a table. I have to tighten them every once in a while. They get a little loose, and it starts to wobble a little bit. But for the most part, it's pretty stable. This table it's glass. It's kind of thin. The desk is not super wobbly, but not the best, most stable thing in the world because it's so thin. So I don't know, works pretty well. Ergotron arms, I believe, is what they're called. You can find them on Amazon. Actually, there's a link somewhere on my YouTube to my gear, and you can find it there. And let's see here. Switch on back. Fix this. Nathan, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Let's, I think I'm just gonna clean this up down. We'll try, let's do this instead. I want to get a little bit of a cleaner selection here. Turn on keep groups, 1K, see what that does. And, let's see. Hudman says good morning, and everyone else that is here as well. Well, good morning, Hudman, the Hud boy. Hope you're doing well, brother. And thanks for the insight. Absolutely. Very similar one. Maybe the same. You might have the same arm. But your Wacom, your Cintiq weighs too much. Yeah, I don't know. I think the arm that I have, you have to... I was doing some research before I bought mine, and the arm, it was like between two different Ergotron arms, and the one that I picked was recommended for this Cintiq, just because I think I had read some other people had struggled with, you know, having it not weighted properly. Also, I believe they're like, I had some trouble getting it to work at first, if I remember correctly. This was a while ago when I set this up, but it comes with an Allen wrench that you can like tighten the I don't know, I guess Allen bolts in and make the arm a little bit more stiff. And it's trying to find, it took me a while, it was kind of a pain in the ass, but just kind of playing with that to get the correct setting so that it's tight enough to not sink whenever you put that in there. But yeah, I don't know, works pretty well. I use it every day. Hasn't failed me yet, fingers crossed, because that would suck. God, I couldn't imagine this thing like just all of a sudden falling. Especially since I walk away a lot. I'll just keep it floating in the air and I'll like leave the room. If this thing fell when I was gone, I would be so upset. I would cry. Oh man, that would be terrible. But this slice, that worked a little bit better at keeping that form than I thought it would. So I'm just gonna kind of keep playing with this form as I work on fixing this transition. Oh, actually, let's not subdivide that, because I wanted to do something here with the Z Modeler brush real quick. Let me delete a few edge loops, and then I'll show you guys something neat here. So let's insert polyloop right there. Looks about the right distance. Bevel, edge loop. It's really thin. It's not perfectly straight. It doesn't need to be though. This is not a game ready mesh, is it? No, this is not a game ready mesh. Especially not right now. Let's do extrude, poly loop. And we're gonna extrude and push this in. And now when I dynamically smooth that, you can see that shape that we're kind of getting there, but we want to tighten those edges up a little bit more, so I'm going to bevel. If I were to bevel this, just by clicking on it, it's going to give me the default to whatever I did last time. It's not quite what I want though, so I just have to grow it, then shrink it a little bit. And let's hit up all these edges. Cool. So that pretty much captures that shape. I think we can make it a little bit more narrow. Let's do that. And I'm trying to think of the direction I wanted to move these. My brain fart. And just kind of move that up a little. Make sure everything's sliding up. Alright. Let that quick save. And actually, what are we at right now? 400 strokes. It's not that many. Your undo history can only... I'm currently saving my undo history. Can only remember so many strokes on one subtool though, so occasionally I'm going here and saving these out. So I'm just going to do that one more time real quick. I did one, I think on our first stream on this character, but I want to do just one more here real quick before I continue forward. Just to make sure, because I really want to keep these so that I can do a nifty little time lapse at the end. Maybe I can show you guys how to do that as well, although I have a really quick tutorial on my YouTube channel. Let's see here. I think just kind of moving this bottom piece back a little bit on that top section. This this curve, I don't like this curve right now, so I kind of want to pull that in as well and try to fix that. So let's try to do it. I always lose my pen, and then it's 99% of the time it's like in my lap. Let's see here. If we can, let's just start by kind of scooting this back a little bit using a large move brush. So we're looking to blend this in a little bit better. Nice and clean. So I'm looking for this transitional line here and how these forms play with each other. Just kind of cleaning that up. With the move brush, if you hold Alt, I use this quite often and it might not be super apparent. If you hold the Alt key while using the move brush, it will move out against the normal, no matter where you put your brush after you make the stroke. So it's just, you know, in or out against the normals that you've selected. But, you know, normally the move brush will do that. But, you know, even from here, if I hold the Alt key, you know, it'll snap to the normal. So, fun little extra effect you can get on the move brush there. Most brushes have an alternate stroke, and it's typically the inverse of it, but for the move brush, since there's not really an inverse of move, that's a little bit of the effect you get there. But yeah, I use that all the time. I use the Alt effect of like so many different brushes all the time. That's going to be one complex model. Great work. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, if you're just popping in here and just seeing a little boot, Got some other stuff in here as well, and for everybody else that's kind of popping in here. So I think this is our third stream hanging out. We've done 5 hours of streaming. I'm much slower at sculpting when I am streaming, but yeah, we're still making some good progress. I think so, at least. Let's keep going now. Keep going with our little booty. Trying to make this mo clean, mo better. Oh, I want to be careful there. Don't want to make changes to the bottom of that boot. Trying to retain that flatness, catness, and then we'll blend that in. Let's try this real quick. I'm gonna do the same thing I did up top here with my slice curve brush. So perspective off, slice curve brush, very thin slice I'm looking for on the bottom. Even thinner than that. As thin as I possibly can. That looks good enough. ZBrush, keep groups, do that real quick. Get a little bit of a flat edge there. And I would like to give this boot, shoot, a little bit of a heel. And kind of look at how we would do that after we tweak the kind of primary forms up top a little bit more. So this is his right foot. Yes. So we'd want it to be a little bit higher on this side. I'm not really looking at any boots for references. I'm just kind of looking at his foot. It's fine. But I've sculpted boots before. Realistic ones. Some stuff for some pilots for the Museum of Flight in Seattle, which I would love to go visit one day. What else have I done boots for? I've sculpted more than a few boots. And just shoes in general kind of follow the same form. Turn on our perspective there a little bit. And you can kind of see them alluding to that shape that I'm trying to build up there as well. That's actually creasing pretty nicely just by default, so I'm not going to add any creased edges. I think that's looking a lot better for sure than what we had previously. When I just take some time to line up this edge a little bit more, so that when we combine this geometry, we're nice and clean, and then we can start adding some of these secondary forms in there. Trying to get it to look more like leather. I'm just kind of trying to look at this from every possible angle. So if I can spot anything that's looking strange, I can fix that now. Let's try to soften this a little bit. I just noticed our music just completely died, or it's extremely quiet. Let's swap that up. Looks like it froze. I'm gonna kill that. Let's restart it. Yuppie, what's going on, dude? Welcome to the stream. This might be your first one that you've been able to make in a little while, I think. I'm not sure. Let's see if that's working now. I can't hear anything. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Alright. And I'm seeing a little bit of a weird transition over here as well. A little bit of a weird shadow, a little form change. think that's better. Pull that down a little bit. Alright, looking good. Now, to do that heel, I'd like to use some booleans. I don't think we've done anything with live boolean yet. Not on this guy, at least. We have in the past on some other streams, though. And if you're not familiar with live boolean, there is a tutorial somewhere. I think it's in my How to ZBrush series. Okay. Try to change our angle a little bit more here. Actually, I'm looking to kind of get this more from this side than the other. And I'm actually, so I'm going to do this, and then I'm actually going to shrink in the length of the toe a little bit. And let's look at doing our heel. So what I'm gonna do here is apply this color nice and quick, and let's get some of this darker brown in here. Darker, more saturated brown. For the sole of the shoe, let's duplicate, delete lower, and all I'm gonna do is slice off some geo on the bottom edge here. Something like that. And delete the rest of that. And then we're just gonna kind of grow this from here. It's acting strange. Not actually sure what's going on there, why that's being so weird. But we can move this in a different way. Let's just move back face like this. Get actually the exact same effect that I was going for. There's always a million ways to do anything, right? Actually, I'm not going to Dynamesh that. What we are going to do, though, is slice off some more here. Also, let's grab our color. Make sure that's hundo filled in. And we're just going to slice off a little thin strip. I think, actually, that's pretty close to what we want there. And we're just going to delete this yellow polygroup. Do a close holes. And there you have it. So there's the start of our... Whoa! Got some extra... some clingers. Also part of that yellow polygroup, so let's step back here. And just make sure that we get these as well. So I'm going to step back, undo that, control, oh, that's a part of that one. That's okay. We'll do control W, polygroup everything, and we'll re-slice that. It's nice and thin. Delete hidden close holes. There we go. And then we can use, let's see, it just looks like a little rectangular, so lengthened cube that we can subtract out of there and give a little bit more volume to the back side. And maybe we can like curl up the toe of the boot a little bit as well. Have that kind of more accurate to some traditional boots as well. Kind of want to play with that shape a little bit. I'm not liking the convexity of that form there that we're getting. Much rather have that. Well, actually, we'll play with it. I don't like it where it is right now, but I might keep the convexity still. All right. So let's do another duplicate here. Initialize Q cube. 1 cubed cube, 1, 1, 1. And we'll move this into position. So I'm using this to subtract from our boot. I'm going to add a little bit more thickness to this guy. I don't know. Trying to figure out what's going on here with my transpose tool. Acting very strange. I'm guessing that that isn't perfectly flat. Should be though. So you can see that it's not perfectly flat. I don't know. I guess I moved that down at some point with the transpose tool and that kind of screwed it up a little bit. That's not a big deal though. Just do this. Add a little bit of thickness. Alright. I'm going to set this to negative. Live Boolean. I'm just going to turn on my poly group so I can see where this is going. And then we can start to position this a little bit better. So, let's move this forward some. From this angle, it looks like it's about halfway in the center of this guy here. Proportionally. It also looks a bit more narrow than what we have. So that's just a little cube that we got in there. So if I move that too high, that's actually going to cut into the, what would be like the leather portion of our boot. So just to avoid that from happening, I can actually just slide this down below this in the chain, and then you'll see that that no longer has the ability to cut through there. But it actually doesn't matter, because I still want a little bit, whoops, a little bit of that color coming through there. So let's just do it like that. I think that looks better. And we will also play with the scale of this. Just kind of a little bit more character than just a straight line there. I also want to adjust the shape of our heel so we can get it closer to that shape there. A little bit more of a kind of a trapezoidal shape, so we'll try to do that. So let's see, we got four subdivs on that. Make that 5. See if this retains this form very well. Looks like it. Definitely getting some issues with the scale there. Let's do this bottom edge first. as thin as we can. So that's not flat, so I just want to make these changes so that I can more easily work with this geometry. And this is worth the, definitely worth the time. I'll just make this change real quick. And we won't have to worry about it later. We're still getting some stretching up here. It's a little annoying. Hopefully that goes away when we do this remesh. So just a quick double remesh to actually... I was just kind of forcing the polys where I wanted them, but it ended up kind of pulling that in a little bit more than I wanted. I can manually realign that if that's the best option that we can get, but I don't know. It's really pinching in right there. It's pretty annoying. Try one more time here with a higher poly count, and then we'll just go back to what we had if it's not working out. Alright, that definitely worked a lot better. So I'm gonna Z-modeler brush and just delete these edge loops. So I don't need that extra form in there. And I don't want these in there either. Or these. Keep that one. And just ever so slightly make sure perspective's off here. Move this up to where we need it. That'll do. That'll do, pig. And let's add some creases in there too. Crease, edge loop complete. Make sure that's right. Beautiful. Alright. Let's focus a little bit more on some proportional changes. I'm going to turn on my legs, I guess. Really need to delete that, more so just kind of hide it temporarily so I can see in here a little bit easier. I'm going to merge these two pieces of geometry together since they have the same number of subdivs. We'll reconstruct that as we need. And let's see here. So actually, I'm not gonna create the heel quite yet. That'll cause some problems for me while moving these around. Flatten that real quick. But I will probably just duplicate this geometry or just kind of grow what we have there already and kind of pull it down a little bit. And then we can look at maybe adding some slight upturn to the toe of our boot. I want to be careful that I'm not knocking this off of its flat. And we'll play with that once we curve that up. That doesn't need to be super flat there, but I want to keep the character flat on the bottom typically if I'm doing stuff for production, just in case If I'm going to prototype something, a rapid prototype through 3D printing, you want to be able to print on a flat. So it's not super important if you're not doing any, if you're just kind of keeping it in the digital world. But I like to keep things perfectly flat for a lot of this kind of stuff. But let's look at going into probably just T-pose here real quick with our few different pieces of geometry. We've got our Boolean piece in there, you can see, for reference, and that's not a big deal. We can hide that or just mask it off, one of the two. If I can select it, jeez. So let's do, I can't see, let's do a little bit of some move, possibly with AccuCurve. I'd say not at first, at least. I just want to get a little bit more of the basic shape that we see going on there. Pulling in a little tighter. Honestly, this is the hardest part of turning a 2D concept into 3D. Just kind of trying to understand what you're looking at. And then understanding how to translate that to 3D. Definitely not easy. So it goes up for a little bit, it looks like, and then just kind of pulls in real tight there. This is the fun stuff to watch, right? Nudging, just nudging vertices around ever so slightly. That's what it takes to get super clean forms, though. Maximoto, you should do the RPG Lizards by Alex Braun. They would fit the theme. I've not seen these. I will have to look them up. I'm assuming I can find Alex on ArtStation. Absolutely, I'll check them out. So I'm selecting a little bit back here with a larger move brush. If I select up here, I'm going to move that other side of the boot as well. So just kind of being aware of where I'm selecting here. I can make a little bit of a better move with one stroke instead of, you know, doing three to kind of go back and fix the stuff that I just did. Again, super important to look at this stuff from every angle while you're sculpting. And let's hide some junk. Trying to get that curve. I don't know. I don't think I'm feeling it. Kind of prefer like an exaggerated form. Like I said earlier, it's always easier to knock something back to be less strong than it is to kind of continue pushing it further. Let's get out of Transpose Master here and let those changes kind of cascade down. Vertex count mismatch. Ah, that's fine. So it's giving me an error on this geometry because these pieces of geometry were hidden. That's fine. I wasn't making any changes to those anyway. But if I had made changes to these two pieces, and then I tried to transpose that back, it actually wouldn't have made those changes to that geometry. Just because the vertex count has to be exactly the same for the algorithm to work there. A little bit frustrating if you've done a lot of different work in Transpose Master and then you hop back over. It can be pretty annoying. But if you're just kind of aware of that, you can try to avoid those little mistakes. Dean, found your channel yesterday. Been looking for channels that work with ZBrush since I'm in school for game art and design. I want to main ZBrush. I'm looking forward to all your content. Thank you, I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Dean. Welcome to the stream too. Hope you're having a good day, brother. If you're just getting started in ZBrush or digital sculpting in general, I have a ton of free tutorials on my YouTube channel here. And then the first link down in the description takes you to my newest paid tutorial that I just released. But I would say that if you're brand new, I really wouldn't recommend taking that one. It's a little bit more of an intermediate level. It kind of expects that you already know how to use ZBrush pretty well. So definitely check out as many free tutorials as you can first. And then once you kind of have some of the basics, go from there. But if you want to get up and running as quick as possible, if you want to crack your voice and die, man, talking kills my throat, especially after 4th of July yesterday. But if you want to get up and running in ZBrush as quick as possible, I also have a course over on my Gumroad called How to ZBrush as well, which is designed for that purpose. Still getting some just a little bit of warble here on the edge. Not feeling it. Fix that up there. I think we're almost ready to combine this geometry. Get that crease. Sculpt some secondary forms in there, make it really look like leather, and take it from there. But before we do that, we want to kind of finish making our heel shape down here. So I said that we could kind of duplicate that sole. This piece. Oops, sorry, this piece. You can duplicate that and grow it just slightly, or we can kind of take what we already have and move it down. So let me see here. Just a quick mask. This is low poly still, so I think this will work okay. Let's make sure. So a little bit of heel, and then we can mess with the rest of the form, kind of giving it an arc, similar to what we would see in a normal boot, right? So real quick here. Let's see. There we go. That's kind of what I was looking for. Something like that. Probably not that strong of a curve, but that's the basic shape that we're looking for. So let's try to incorporate that into this guy here. So grab our heel and maybe just adjust that ever so slightly down a little bit further. Nothing crazy. And then we can add some curve in there to these two. I want to be careful with how I do this though. because these are separate poly groups, separate subtools I mean. Might be a little more frustrating to deal with and move. So let's see, what is that? 5. This has nothing, no subtool or no subdivisions. I think that's fine. I say we try to transpose it one more time really quick. Turn that back on, hide it. Turn that back on, hide it. And let's see what we can do. T-pose mesh. Silver says, hey, Folly looks awesome. Can't wait to see the final product. Neither can I. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. All right, let's see. So I'm just gonna do a quick mask here. And essentially what we're looking for is kind of line this up a little bit. And I'm just going to manually tug with a big old move brush. Start adding some curve there. You can see that we get this little S there. We don't want that. So we actually want to carry this form up through here. And this is when it's going to get a little messy. Once I rotate this, we'll see how these do. Not so bad. Alright. That's not bad at all, actually. There we go. We're getting a nice clean form there. I like that. I can pull this this heel down a little bit further, I think, just to kind of line that up. So let's see. Actually, you know what? That edge is pretty close. I think we're good. Plus, I don't want the heel to be super large. It's not very thick in the concept. All right, awesome. Quick tweak here or there. Look at this guy in perspective. Ooh, you know what? I do see something we will want to change. I think it'll be easier to change once we get out of Subtool Master though. So I won't do it in here. Whoops, let's head on back. And I'm gonna delete this. Save on some space. I think we're good. Really simple shape, right? But it's nice and clean, which is the hard part. We got that out of the way, which is great. And now we can keep going. I want to fix the bottom, the sole of our shoe. You can, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but it's got a little bit of a depression in it. So we want to try to round that out a little bit better. I also kind of want to make that a little more thin. Ooh, gotta be careful, we don't want let's see. Don't want this. Form change there. See if I can fix that. Try this. Just trying to flatten that there. There we go. Actually, that worked pretty well. Cool. Ooh, no, wait. Actually, that's fine. We're going to be adjusting the shape of this pretty hard. Like I said, you can see a little bit of that concavity there. See how that shadow going in there? Can try to make that a little bit easier to see for you guys. Switch our material. You can see how that's going in. Let's try to fix that. All right. So we got this yellow poly group. Just gonna mask this selection. Let's do just like that. And we'll do a poly group as well. Mask that puppy off. And actually, let's go back. So what I want to do, we want to go to selection changes. Where are our selection changes? I don't use these very often. I think it's in here. No. I know another place where it is. I just wanted to show you guys where it was by default. I also have it over here for growing and shrinking selections. So one sec, let's see if we can, where would it be? Texture, more target contact, I don't even know what that is. It's not a big deal. Instead of using a grow selection or shrink selection, which I could do a quick Google, it's not a big deal. I can just soften my mask instead and do it this way. It does the exact same thing, just with masking. Essentially what I'm doing is trying to get this to a place where I can't affect my outside edge loop there. I want to keep that tight and in the same place where I have it right now, so I want to keep that exactly the same, and I want to make sure that that's the case when I go to smooth this. Alright, so you can see that concavity that we have in there. I'm going to kind of run through here with my trim dynamic brush, holding Alt, and just kind of making some gentle strokes through here, and also using my smooth brush very carefully, very liberally. Try not to destroy too much of the form. If I'm not careful, it can start to get pretty out of hand, as you saw with that little inflate it started to do there. And get a little crazy. I want to avoid that. Just try to build up the form ever so slightly more in here, and then I'll blend it back down. So that shadow isn't nearly as strong as it was a minute ago. I think that looks much better. I'm just trying to look at this from every angle. You can still see a little bit of that curve there. A little bit's fine. I just didn't want a huge depression in it, so that if he's got his boot up in the air, it catches this really harsh shadow. And it's not really catching that harsh shadow any longer, so I'm pretty happy with that result. So I think that's fine. We can turn our material and color stuff back on. Kind of zoom out here. See how our booty's looking. It's getting there. And you can see kind of how small those little things are in relation to everything else. But still, it makes a difference, especially if you're catching those harsh shadows. We want to avoid those as best as we can. Having those really clean forms is super important for that. So let's, I guess, throw a couple subdivs in here. See how that's looking from every different angle here. I think it's looking pretty good. I think I want to combine these back together. Now that we're kind of more happy with how clean this is, and how that primary form is holding the shape of the boot really well. We've got a lot of those tough to find curves in there. So let's go ahead and combine these. What I would like to do, kind of like to retain that shape and also add in this split that we're gonna see. Let's try something here. Oh, there's a few ways we can add that split in so that they have a reason to be tied together. We could just kind of do a slice curve. We could do a live boolean. I don't know what the best option is going to be for that though. Let's play around. Play around and figure it out. Let's see here. Try to get a little bit of a higher res on the Dynamesh. Looking for something in the millions. I will take it. And now we can kind of start adding in a lot of our secondary forms that we're seeing in here. Some pinches around maybe the side to give it more of that leather feel. If you want an example of that, I think the hat has some similar type forms that would be pretty comparable to that. If you guys saw me create the hat, then you know how I already did that. But we're going to try to do some similar stuff here. So let's go. Actually, this won't work. What I'm trying to do here. Let's step back for a second. I was going to do the split with a boolean, but I actually need that to be on there too. I guess we can try this. Might lose a little bit of our form, but that's okay. It's easy to get it back through projecting. Do the same thing that we did below for the heel. I think our boot's a little tall too. I think I might shrink this section. We can do that later though. I'm just kind of lining that up with that. I don't really want it to go past that area. So I could live boolean this out, so I'm going to turn that on real quick so you can see what that's going to look like. You can change the color as well. So that's how that would subtract from there. I could also use just a Dynamesh subtraction, and it's going to give me a pretty similar result. I think I might make that a little bit more narrow. Let's actually grow this too. We will do a little bit further down. And let's try a Dynamesh subtraction just because it's a little bit faster. We'll try that first. Just to see what it looks like. I am actually fine with that. So I no longer need this piece of geometry, but I'm going to keep it around just in case. Then we can delete it after we've decided that we really no longer need it. So there's our foodie. Let's make him a little longer. I had a feeling we could probably see that through there. We're gonna kind of tighten this gap though, so it's not even really gonna matter. But I can kind of continue to pull that in there. We'll also add in these little strings we got going on here too. I guess we can do like a torus insert, little ring 3D. I think that'll work pretty well. Let's see here. I would say I'm intermediate at ZBrush. Been in school for 2 years, but I feel like I still need to get better. Thinking of purchasing your newest course. Just wondering, what does it focus most on? If you haven't seen the what's the word, trailer video that I posted on my YouTube, I would say everything I talk about in that, and then to go a little bit more in depth, if you have seen that. Focusing on just creating characters, one, for production, but also just kind of improving your abilities. I don't know how often you create stylized characters, but it's pretty much, you know, what I focus on. So I have a lot of experience creating some nice, really clean, stylized form, and so I'm going to show you a lot of ways that I go through my process for doing that, a lot of the tools that I use to do that. I'm also going to help you turn a 2D concept into a 3D concept if you haven't done much of that. If you are creating a lot of your own stuff, you know, you can get lost a lot of the time, I think, in the design phase of that. But for the most part, from start to finish, you're going to start with a concept. I do Charizard. I've worked on Pokemon toys in the past for Tomy. I've not done Charizard for Tomy though, nor would I be able to kind of use that as an example in the course. If I had, I would not feel comfortable doing that, nor would Tomy probably feel comfortable doing that. But yeah, so we go from a Charizard 2D concept, take all the 2D reference images we can find, and then I go through the entire sculpting process. I think the footage is mostly sped up ×2. It took me 8 hours to do it. There's like around 3 hours of footage after I sped it up a little bit, cut out pauses, and did all of that. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist. If that sounds like something you're interested in, again, pretty much all talking about stuff for production, 3D printing, prototyping at the end. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And just if you're looking to grow, I think, in your ZBrush capabilities, I think it's a great course for that as well. But it's been selling a lot better than I thought it would, which is really exciting. I'm really happy about that. And I would love to do another course here maybe in the next month or so. I have a couple ideas. I was mentioning this, I think, on the last stream. But if anybody else has any ideas for something specific they might like to see in a future future course, something that's higher quality that I put a lot of time into, let me know. You don't have to let me know right this second, but if you guys have some ideas for stuff you might like to see, then absolutely shoot it my way. All right, guys, where were we? We were cutting up our boots, figuring this out. That's right. We were gonna insert some toros. Let's append. Oh, not insert. Append. Ring 3D. Grab this guy. And let's, oh snap, didn't mean to do that. Wanted to sample this color down here. Oh no. Boom. These are a little bit thicker, it looks like, so let's, actually let's get them into place first and then I'll inflate them. We'll show how thin they are. A little bit better. Nathan says, let's see, on your Patreon, are you? Okay, I think that's what you meant. Are you planning? Yeah. Are you planning to make live critique, Skype, Discord call where we can discuss about the project Send It? I have not made a tier for that yet. I know that that's something that people have been asking for in the past, but first I wanted to try out what I thought would be a cheap reward for something that I could, you know, for $5 a month. It's a written critique with red lines, and you can send me your stuff, and I can do that for you. Or if you want a personalized video critique, I can do that for you as well. But that would be a pre-recorded thing where I would pop open your Z tool that you'd send me in ZBrush and talk over a lot of the changes that I would be making, and probably do a little bit of a sculpt over, maybe show you some specific tools that I think that you could use to improve your work in general, and improve that specific character, or, you know, whatever you're working on. It doesn't have to be a character. I'm absolutely willing to look at anything you got, but I think for the most part it will be characters. But yeah, so that's the rundown on those $5 and $10 tier rewards. But in terms of live stuff, I have not made a tier reward for that. But I know that it is something that people are interested in. I just don't think I have the time right now to kind of schedule that stuff. But in the future, if there is a large need for it, I would definitely consider doing something like that for sure. I think that would be a lot of fun too, and I know that people really like the one-on-one live mentorship that you can get, as well as I think the pre-recorded stuff, personalized like video critique with a sculpt over, is extremely helpful. But being live as well, just being able to ask questions, you know, that's as good as it gets. But like I said, just right for the time being, no. But hopefully in the future. So I'm using my inflate in the deformation palette here to kind of figure out how thick I want to make these. So let's do, man, keep yawning. Sleepy time. I'm just gonna hold the control key, duplicate that real quick. Actually, scale this down a little bit. And let's see. I guess we'll just duplicate this. Do a quick mirror. Alright, I want to make these a little bit darker. It's kind of hard to sample this color when it's such a small piece. I think I got it there though. And that green as well. Alright, let's add some quick little pipes in here, curved tubes. Might be easier to use a cylinder, I'm not sure. We'll just do this real quick and see how it goes. Wow, thank you ZBrush. Ah, that'll work. Let's see here. I'm gonna delete a bunch of these. Whoa, wait a second. Oh, okay, I thought that had geometry on the inside of it for a minute. I was very confused. Let's do nothing there. And now I'm just going to move this into place and adjust some of this curve a little bit. Dean asks, how do you know when to switch from Dynamesh to just dividing or vice versa? That's something I talk about in that course for sure that you were asking about. I believe you were asking. Yes, you were the one asking about it. That's something I talked about there. In general, I would say it kind of comes with practice, it kind of comes with experience, just kind of knowing how the tools work, but for the most part, it's just I know how the tools work and what I can do with each one, and it's more of just kind of whatever I need at that time. So right now, I needed to kind of split these up, clean them off, get them nice and super clean. I also wanted to put that edge loop in there to get that shape, so I wanted to use subdivisions for that. And then I wanted to combine these really quick, so I just Dynameshed them real quick. And you know, even from here, I might add some more subdivs back on this, just so I can clean it up even further and get those secondary forms in there really easily. I can almost guarantee that I might do that. So it's kind of just knowing your tools, but there's a lot of examples of that again in that course of how and why I make those changes and why I swap between those tools. Kind of just whatever I need at that time, though, is kind of the quick answer, I would say. But there's a lot of different stuff that you could need each tool for. That's an excellent question, and it's something that took me quite a while to really understand and figure out. But anymore, I really don't even think about it. I just do it. It's like, oh, I need this. Okay, go. Stupid boot. Get out of my way. Really just trying to make this as clean as I can here before I duplicate it, move it to the bottom. I just want it to look really good, which is pretty important to me. Make your characters look good. Check that off the list. I might shrink some stuff down and make these a little bit more narrow. Not a problem. But for the time being, continue to go here. Alright, make sure that color's applied on there. Let's show this, unhide our boot. In terms of scale, that's actually not as bad as I thought it was. I'm actually pretty happy with that size there for that piece specifically. And then try to darken those boots a little bit. Beautiful. Let's do the bottom as well, actually. Darken up some of this. Alright. Alright, so secondary forms in our boot here. We've been spending a long time on our boots, but that's okay. Still want to look at some of the cloth stuff, but let's kind of try to finish this last little part out on our boots, and then we can move on to something else. 6 gigabytes from your course. Yeah, it's pretty big. Pretty large file size there. So you know, it's like 3 hours of footage of HD video. So it's pretty big. And then, of course, you know, if you have any further questions while you're taking it, feel free to shoot me a message on social or email me. Whatever you need, brother. I would be happy to answer your questions. Add a few subdivs in there for our pieces there. Alright, so secondary forms in this, if you guys were watching when I made the hat, it's going to be pretty much the same process, but before I get there, you know, I'm going to want to probably add some subdivs to this. But first, I would just like to play around with exaggerating some of these forms. So Sharp Soft Brush is what I'm using here for the most part. It's my own custom brush, pretty similar to the damn standard. And I'm just gonna kind of play with this, get some of these shapes in here that I'm seeing. I'm trying to be what I'm gonna call messy smart. Smart messy? I don't know. I'm gonna try to do this a little bit messy, and I can, you know, knock the detail down from there if I take it too far. I'm also trying to be a little bit messy for some leather. Got some unevenness in the surface, so, you know, a little pock mark here and there isn't really gonna affect much once we come back through and, you know, clean stuff up. I'm also probably going to want to add some slight asymmetry between the boots, so I'm going to probably do one and then go over to the other and make some changes from there. Let's just grab that brush again. And you can see that that form is pretty poorly applied at first, but, you know, one stroke at a time, not a big deal. And I could even look at some real boots here if I wanted to get a little bit better reference, get some other angles of view for this. But I think less is going to be more here. And so I'm just kind of going with the natural flow of these folds and where they would kind of go directionally. But other than that, I don't want to make too many marks on here. So just trying to be a little smart with where I apply these. And then I just want to start sculpting on this form now while I still can, before I get my subdivs back in here. Because I want to be able to dynamesh while I'm like this, because essentially what's going to happen as you sculpt and you start adding more geometry, your polys get more and more stretched, or if you're pinching like this, your polys get pulled closer and closer together, and it doesn't make for good geometry for creating some quick Z remesh retopo. So we want to avoid that if at all possible. A little bit difficult to see what's going on here with my form, so I'm just going to switch my brush, or my material, sorry. Marco says, hey, how's it going? It's going great, man. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Continuing to block out a lot of our major form changes that we're trying to make in our boot. And then we'll Z-remesh this back down. I'm just going to do a couple dynameshes here and there as I start playing with this geometry. Mainly build up that form. Come on through with my pinch brush here, got lazy mouse on. And then from there I'm going to be able to soften these transitions quite a bit. Some of them I want to keep a little bit tighter though, like around here. So where I've kind of used my clay tubes brush, that's where it's going to be a little bit softer, like around here. Some of this stuff though, I want it to be a little bit tighter in its form change. I think this is the major area where it's going to be bunched up a little bit more. Let's try to represent that as best as we can. And let's see. Just trying to be really light with my strokes. And this, through some smoothing, we'll be able to blend that out a little bit better. Again, not super worried about how dirty it gets right now. I'm going to smooth out some of this just a little bit, and then we'll go on to re-subdivide with projection. Really clean up this stuff. It's looking pretty good for our next steps from here. We've lost our poly paint data, unfortunately. We just lost that because we were dynameshing with poly paint data turned off, so it tried to remember our poly group data. We don't really have poly group data though, so that's not a problem. Can turn this all back on really quick. And apply some colors here. It's pretty close to what I want. Alright. So, duplicate our booty here. And a quick save. Just so we don't get any untimely crashes. What did you do yesterday for the 4th of July? Well, yesterday morning, I played a super awesome, super nerdy board game by the name of Gloomhaven. It's like a $150 board game that weighs like 45 pounds and takes, you know, roughly 2 years to play. So it's a pretty hefty board game. Me and my friends have been trying to get into it for a while, and they just started reprinting it. So I was able to do that. And then later in the day, went to a party at my brother-in-law's and watched some fireworks. It was pretty fun. Pretty good day. Played some cornhole, you know. It's a Cincinnati tri-state thing, if you guys know what cornhole is. Alright. Let's ZRemesh first. Let's see what we can do with... Let's see how 5K holds up here in terms of form. So I'm trying to remesh this as low as I possibly can, quickly, while retaining, but I think this area might have some trouble. But if that's looking good, then I'm gonna probably keep this. I would like to go lower, try to go to around 1K. Oh wow, that actually held up better than I thought it would. That's low enough to where I can make the changes that I need. So let's keep that. Do a couple quick fixes there, and we can just duplicate and project this detail back up. Might get some funky areas, but that'll be okay. Whew. I hate that feeling where you feel like you're going to sneeze, but you can't. It's just like the hint of a sneeze. It's the worst. Sounds nice. One question, how you calculate the folds. My big dumb brain. I use my big dumb brain. I'm looking at my reference over here, just kind of seeing how that's working, and then just from my experience sculpting cloth, I kind of know how these folds are going to be shaped and where some of them are going to be. And this is a little bit more stylized, so I'm kind of trying to pick and choose where I'm going to put them. Kind of just experience and sculpt a bunch of cloth. A little bit of looking at my reference for where the pinched areas will be. I'm going to try to exaggerate that, clean it up a little bit more now. But yeah, that's the quick answer, I guess. Let's try to do that now. Clean this bad boy up. Start really getting in here. So it might seem like I'm kind of, you know, randomly adding strokes on here. If that's the case. I am trying to do it intentionally in certain areas. It's just kind of trying to keep what looks good. Trying to use my artistic eye. Still keep some of these like tighter forms in here, but still going to soften up a lot of this stuff because we've made it pretty rough and dirty. Intentionally though. Intentionally for a few reasons, one of which was so that when we Z-remeshed and projected all that, we made sure that it captured that form pretty well. And then it's nice and easy to knock that back down if need be. And there be a need. So we knock it back down. Just trying to blend some of these forms that I've built up a little bit better, mainly just using my my trim brush, clay tubes, and smooth right now. This came through really well down here, I think. I'm not going to play with that too much, but some of the stuff that I said I would smooth out pretty hard, we'll focus on. Dragon Paint says, does all your stuff stay as Sculpt, or do you convert them into game models or something else eventually? Everything I work on is for production. My experience is in sculpting stuff for toys and collectibles. I've also done stuff for museums, life-size figures for like shows, amusement parks, and that kind of thing. And I apologize, it looks like my stream health is red. Hopefully you guys can still hear me and see me. Hope things aren't lagging too much on your end. But yeah, that's the stuff that I work on. And Marcos says, I love how it looks. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's getting there, you know, it's still rough. But all in good time. You know, compared to how we started on this stream, we're at a much better place, right? Looked nice and flat and boring. Didn't have any nice curves in here. None of that. None of that at all. I'll try to incorporate this up here. And continue up here. So, you know, we're starting to get a lot of that good asymmetry in there. Still looking rough. It's getting there though. I'm going to do something here to kind of tighten this area up a little bit more. Try to at least. Looks much better. Oh, nope, still want that mask. Flip that though. Sorry if you guys are getting sick from watching me rotate around this boot. I just need to rotate it to a good angle so that I can actually make a decent stroke on it. If you guys are drawers or painters, then you know it's best to kind of rotate your canvas and stroke from your dominant hand the best direction that you can. I'm just trying to get the best stroke I can. And that requires me to rotate around like a madman, so I'm sorry. Trying to carry that through a little bit more. Wibbit. I really don't use many brushes. I've mentioned this many times before, but it really doesn't take that much to get a particular form. It's just kind of about working with what you have. Somebody was asking the other day if I used the new Sculptress Pro mode often. The answer is like no, never. I played around with it very, very briefly when it came out, but you know, just like it's just another way to do a thing that I can already pretty much do. I think it's good for doodles and stuff, but you know, it just doesn't really fit into my workflow. There are a lot of new tools though that do get developed that fit in really nicely with my workflow. When the ZModeler brush was invented and added into ZBrush, that was awesome. I love that, and I use it all the time. It's an awesome tool. Actually helped shape my workflow here in ZBrush. Can do a lot of box modeling in here now. No need to go to an external program like Maya or Max or 3D Coat, anything. You can just do it all here. Looking a little warbly up through here. Just kind of change some angles here and there. Ugh. Getting there, getting there. Slowly but surely. Whew. Nice and toasty in my room right now. These little things here, these are the things that almost matter the most. That little hint in the surface there. If you want to work in production, not toys or anything like that, stuff has got to be clean. The way I like to think of it is, if you're working on a toy, there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of these made. I want to make sure that that thing is like pristine. Any random little pocked surface, it's going to show up. You don't want that. That's why it's also important to turn off your poly paint every once in a while and check out your sculpt and see how it's looking. I'm actually fairly happy with the direction that we're going right now. I'm going to try to bring a couple more forms back here. I think just that'll help out a lot. Just taking my time with this stuff. I really don't want to rush this. It's going to look really bad and unnatural if I do that. Plus, I really don't want to add too much too much form, too many folds down here, or else it's going to start to look, you know, not correct for the style. We getting there, we getting there. Clean up some of this junk. Alright. How we looking? I'm gonna remesh again here in a sec. Alright. So I am, let's see, I am going to have to head out of here, cut the stream, but I will hopefully be streaming some more tonight. If you're around, please come hang out. But I need to go grab some food. I have to pee super bad. I'm not ashamed. I'll admit it. And I'm gonna go get my hairs cut. All of them. Every single hairs. And I will see you guys, hopefully, tonight. If you're awake, I don't know what time zone you guys are in. I'm trying to stream as often, or not as often, but as sporadically, kinda as I can, to try to hit some multiple time zones. I know everybody's all over the place, so it's a little bit harder. But yeah, if you're around tonight, I'll be going live again, working some more on this guy, working some more on the boot. If I have some time, I'll do some more work on it off stream. But I guess before I go, the only thing I want to shout out real quick again is definitely go check out my Patreon. I'm doing a new thing with critiques now. Go check them out. If that sounds like something you're interested in. And then maybe go, if I can find a link, there it is. Go check out my Gumroad. I just released a new course. Somebody was asking about it in here earlier. And go check out that new course. It's called ZBrush Sculpting Stylized Characters for Toys and Collectibles. And I walk you through just that. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go check it out too. And it has been fun. Of course, it's always fun. And I'll see you guys tonight. Hudman, ex-Hudman, I think is at work right now. He always says that when he's watching earlier in the day, he's at work. Hopefully, I guess you aren't watching at work. And I will see you guys in the next stream tonight. Hopefully. Come on by and say hi. Alright, see you guys.